Hola community, welcome to Blender Today Live. This recap of what's new in the last 2 weeks. However, last episode, if you remember, was on a Friday. I couldn't do it on Tuesday, and that means that there is less things to cover this week. But actually, the things that we have here, it's super nice for today. We have some sculpt news, some modeling news. We don't get those often. We also have some animation changes that we are going to cover, and actually that one squeezed in out of the window of new features. I have a script that is on my profile on projects.blender.org. By the way, if you want to get the commits yourself, it goes from noon to noon of a Tuesday to the other Tuesday, and this one was a bit later. However, you are gonna get this feature if you download the build bot, the builder.blender.org build of tonight. So tomorrow, if you like to sleep at a normal time, the new builds usually come out around 2 a.m. Like Central European time. So unless you stay late, as many people I know and myself, you're gonna get it tomorrow. But there are no big announcements actually today, other than the LTS that we already mentioned. Other than that, I think it's pretty straightforward on the things that we're gonna see today. It's only what's new in Blender as of today. So we're gonna start with the animation section. Is the title of this episode, and also it's so if you're not familiar with this, I go through all the news that happened in the last 2 weeks in alphabetical order, and animation happens to be the first one that I usually go through unless something else pops up. But this week there's 259 commits. I'm gonna cover 31 of them, but there are also many bug fixes, refactors, and cleanups. There's always clean. Blender is the cleanest software there is. So this new feature is called loop. So looping in Blender, you already had a loop in Blender, right? When you play back an animation, let's start with this character actually. By the way, when I was testing this feature, I just realized of a feature that I wasn't aware it was gonna be part of the feature. Let me explain. I think it's a happy accident. So let's go to the animation, and this is partially related to what I had before. So I have this animation, beautiful animation here, the rain restaurant sample image that everybody can have access to. So the animation is super nice, goes for a long while. So let's say we have it up to here. So when she goes down up here, and I'm gonna set this as a frame range. So let me make sure that the sound is off, which by the way, I had a hard time trying to kill the sound of this, and I don't know why it's still playing sound. I think there is a sound object somewhere here. Anyway, you shouldn't listen to the sound. So this is the loop, right? This is what happens. Blender by default, once it plays animation, it plays from the beginning always. But now you have options. Who doesn't love some options? So in the playback popover that you will see in the playback controls of each animation editor, you have the loop option. This new loop option allows you to choose what to do once the playback is over. So by default, it's infinite. So infinite loop. In this case, it's something good. It's not something that you don't want, like in rigging usually. Yeah, shout out to all riggers out there. You can also stop at the end frame, which is once the animation reaches the last frame, it will just stop. You can also make it stop at the start frame, right? So if I start here and boom, jumps to the beginning of my animation. You can also restore the frame, which means if I'm in frame in the middle of my animation, like 1:10, let's say, and then I play back, once it reaches the end, it will go back to the frame that it was before I played the animation, which is super nice because maybe you want to see, okay, how is this transition, this to transition. So you can play back, spacebar, cancel, spacebar, and then it's super nice. Actually, this you couldn't do before. Or if you just want to see the last few frames, you don't need to readjust your start and end frames. You just play back, right? That's super nice. Then, okay, let's see. Bounce. Bounce is the last option, which it's the same as reverse playback. I think some other software calls it oscillate, like oscillation. But bounce is more fun. So the fun factor plays here. Bounce means that once it reaches the last bit, it's gonna play back. So you can have rain coming in and out of this frame forever and ever. That is super nice. And the other feature that I didn't know when I was looking at this, yeah, boomerang would be also boomerang, ping pong. I think bounce is also fun, but there is no dedicated name for this, right? It is like boomerang, ping pong, bounce, reverse playback. The other thing, the feature that I noticed with this, and I'm pretty happy that this actually works, it's this playback is per scene, which means that if you're, for example, doing storyboarding, or you're using the new sync scene option where you can have, right, you have this setting here, right? You have an animation in your scene, and then you have another edit where you go to a different scene, right? You're making storyboards. Well, the playback is actually for the scene where you are in. In this case, the animation is in the scene shot 2. However, the sequencer has its own scene. So in the sequencer, I can keep it infinite, like just to play the whole thing. And then here I can make it loop, like a stop at the last frame, or bounce even if I want, right? If I make this my last frame, so I can do here. So if I have this, I can make it go back and forth. And if I place spacebar with this down here, it will just continue playing all my sequence, which is awesome. And I didn't see it mentioned in the PR, so I don't know if this is a happy accident that maybe we can have, I think Sivren, the author of this feature, was hanging out here in the chat. So I don't know if that's a happy accident or something that is so cool to have, right? You can just have it set per editor. So nice. Boom, boom, and then here we'll play continuously. Anyway, that's it for bounce. Hey, Sivren is here. Hello. Sivren.blender is here, the developer that implemented this feature in the animation module. So that's it for animation loops. Super nice feature. It was actually an Friday evening feature. I got the pull request review on late night. It was actually 10:14 p.m. on Friday. Okay, next. Let's see. What else? There is also asset browser, assets, attributes, but not really nothing too relevant to mention until we reach the camera section. The orthographic camera now can be resized by, wait, it's going to change the size with a gizmo. Okay, that wasn't supported before, I assume. So if we go to general and then change general template, and then we set it to orthographic, there should be now a widget where you can adjust, right? This, I think. Pivot, options, transform. I think this is it. So yeah, it's a new gizmo that it wasn't present on this camera type, the orthographic cameras. So thank you, Mark Hamanji and Campbell, for reviewing and committing. Let's see. Cleanup changes. Many cleanups this week, around 60, I think. CMake. Well, I don't really talk about building Blender, but you should build Blender if you can. If you are a bit curious about getting the latest and greatest, it's always nicer to run Blender built only for your needs and your computer. And it's also super fun. And it's super easy in some operating systems. The light builds now have enabled multi-threading by default, which multi-threading in Blender is now all over the place, actually. And if you are developing Blender, you may want to build light builds, and this multi-threading being off was getting on the way too much. Every time I was testing, I used light builds to test UI things, and then it was getting on the way. So now it should be fast again, because a lot of Blender is multi-threaded these days, especially like in the sequencer. You can really tell the difference when multi-threading is off. So that means if you are considering getting a computer with more processors, you're gonna make use of it. All right, let's switch to C4 Compositor. Node gizmos in the image editor. Have you implemented the gizmos that you know and love? Crop, glare, corner pin, box mask, ellipse mask, split. Those gizmos that are supported in the image, in the node editor backdrop, now they're also supported in the image editor when you're using the viewer node. So that is so nice, especially now that the template for the image editor now has a for compositing now has a default image editor there. So it's nice to see it supporting more things. Next, disable text info overlay. So there is one thing that has been disabled by default in this template, which is the text info, which I think we should maybe change that. General info. I think we changed that name in the viewport to general info. General info. Although it's in the section text and this one is in the section guides. Text info is fine. Let's just leave it as that. But anyway, the option was on by default, and the feedback is that how often are you changing render sizes? Not that often. So if you need it, maybe enable it. Otherwise, it makes for a less clutter UI. So less clutter, better. I wanted to make a rhyme. What rhymes with clutter? Ah, flatter? Less clutter, more flatter? No. Please suggest rhymes in the chat. Next, let's switch to C4 cycles, and there are 3 changes, and all 3 are worth mentioning. The first one is if you're using Intel graphics cards on Windows, you need to update your drivers. The minimum driver is now a 101.8424, and that's it. End of the PSA. Then metal. This is so cool. Look, if you're this is for Mac OS because it's related to metal. So Apple developers, remember that the good thing that Blender becomes more popular is that, you know, you get Apple developers working for Apple, Nvidia working for Nvidia, AMD, Intel for Intel. So Blender developers don't need to spend as much time and can focus on Blender features, not supporting so much systems. This one is by Apple for Apple, which they just announced the M5 Pro Max. I thought they were gonna do it tomorrow. Anyway, the feature is not a feature actually. It's an improvement in the way that Metal handles memory allocation, RAM allocation. Anyway, the gist of it is that with this change, you can now render scenes like the junk shop, the Blender junk shop. That's a risky search. This image, this awesome image by Alex Aendom, super nice. This one didn't used to render on 8 GB of RAM, and now it does. You may remember this one, super nice. Anyway, it wouldn't manage to render on a Mac with 8 gigs of RAM, and now it does render on a Mac with 8 gigs of RAM. So this, like, if you download Blender, will be the closest thing to download RAM, right? Now you can download RAM by just updating your Blender, and you go to download. In this economy, I will go with 4 gigs at the minimum possible and start downloading RAM. Awesome, thank you Apple for Apple. Then the next change is by Brecht. It's a fix to a bug mainly. So it has been reported recently that normal map nodes break the display's normals. It used to work in 4.5, it broke on 5.0, so this brings it back, and basically it adds a normal map base option for displayed surfaces to choose between the smooth and display space normal and tangents, or the display surface normal and tangents when you want to apply it. And it only works for cycles for now. It's to fix a regression in 5.0. more unified handling with Eevees for another time. This is an alternative solution to replace another PR. Next, documentation. Eevee under the hood changes, a bunch of fixes, which is great because we are 2 weeks away. We are 2 weeks away of Blender 5.1 release coming out. Crazy, isn't it? Time flies. It's already March. What the heck? Geometry nodes. There's 2 things I would like to mention. There are 4 changes and 3 things that I would like to mention. First, it's a new node. There's a new node in town by Roman Gimbal, which adds a new node called set curve order. Adds a dedicated node to set the order of nerve curves. Interesting. So the node is called set curve order and allows you to do this. So it has nothing to do with the order of the actual curves, as if you have many. But I think nerves order must to do something with the way a word popular in the nerves world, which makes me think that if this doesn't work in anything else but nerves, maybe you shouldn't call it set curve order, because people doing 2D things like grease pencil might get confused. So let's try. Does it work in anything else? If I add a primitive and I set curves, curve type, set spline type to order, then let's see. Does it work? It doesn't work. It complains. It says input curves do not have nerves type. And it only works in nerves, I guess. It only works in nerves. Not a huge fan. And also it reserves curves. I guess you can only set 1 curve at a time, and then curves is for the socket name. Should it have nerves in the name? It would make for a long name, but it's just set curve order is a bit too confusing, too specific to nerves. No hate to nerves. Nerves are great, but it's gonna confuse everyone else not using curve and not using nerves, no? Let's see. Next, expose modifier socket visibility to RNA. Nice. This one by Alex Chakov. Exposes. So this is a Python thing. We'll expose 2 new settings per socket, called 2 new properties per socket, called is input visible and is input used, which is super handy. There was a bug report. Yeah, it's a bug report / feature request saying that it's impossible to get the socket input state, like if it's visible or not in the modifier panel. Remember that since a few versions ago, Blender would hide the sockets that are not being used by default, or gray out in some cases. And this makes it easy to tell via Python how to deal with those things when they're visible or not. Next, we have some GitHub, GPU. Opa, nice. I broke. Yes, there is actually something to say in the GPU department. Optimization. So in 5.1 there has been many performance improvements. This one is also performance improvement, but for 5.2. Yes. Shader processor optimizations. In the commit itself, it doesn't mention anything related to that, but in the PR, it actually mentions that this is to shader compilation, right? Pre-processing. And what used to take 1 second is now half a second. So welcome additions. Switch to grease pencil. Vertex brush adds support for blend modes. Oh, nice. This is cool. This wasn't possible before. Thanks to Casey, we can now add different blend modes to the vertex paint brush. So now there is a setting called blend, usually similar to how we used it in other places, that allows you to blend better. So happy blending with this new change. I don't think we need this space here. Is that on purpose? Between the blend and the rest, it is on purpose. Maybe we shouldn't have it. Okay, next. Should it be blend mode instead of blend? No, we already have mode. What do we call it in other places? Okay, I'm not gonna go bother you with those things. Can go and check the PR myself later. The next change is by Omar Emara from the Compositor module. This adds support for grease pencil depth to the viewport compositor depth pass. This is only supported for Eevee for now, but look at this beautiful depth path that now supports grease pencil objects. This is amazing. I've been wanting this for a while. That's so cool. Before, I don't know if you remember, it was just pretty broken basically. You couldn't do compositing, proper compositing with grease pencil objects. That's so nice. Grease pencil, welcome to the comp world. Nice. You can actually see it's poking through. There is this mesh poking through the face, and it even works properly, like blends properly. So cool. Nice. Awesome. Thank you, Omar. This is amazing. Looking forward to using it. Next, modeling. There is one modeling feature that many people are familiar with, I bet, because we made a video not that long ago in the Blender developers LoopTube channel. I was gonna say, we don't have a channel dedicated to loop tools, but we did make a video presenting the goal to move the loop tools add-on, which is the most popular add-on. If you go to the extensions, it's probably here in the list in some of their loop tools. It has like 1.5 million downloads, not bad, and everybody's using it. 5 stars. So the idea is for this add-on to become part of Blender, as in built-in part of Blender. So we made a design task, a design session with Alai, proposed some ways to implement it to make it look less like an add-on. It's just more integrated, and now it's part of Blender. It's called the first tool, not everything, but the first tool that has been added is actually the one that apparently people use the most. So that's good. This one is called To Circle. It used to be called, what that it used to be called? Let's just maybe double check. So I'm gonna enable loop tools, gonna install loop tools, and right click loop tools, circle. It used to be called circle. Yeah. In other software, this is called circle arrays, something like that, some made up word. So in this case, Blender loop tools used to call it circle, and it will work great in some cases. So how did I break this? Loop tools, circle. Okay, well, now I want to have, how did I break it before? Because I want to see if I can break it and if it's gonna be better. There, bam. Okay, this is the circle tool. Let's see if the new one works better. The new one, unfortunately, they haven't added it to the context menu, I think. Let's see. It's not added to the context menu yet. It's nowhere to be seen. I think we should add it to the context menu, like right below subdivide, like, right? We should add it there. Anyway, let's see if it works. It's under mesh, transform to circle. Look at that. Well done. It tries to do its best. Has some settings there. That's so cool. Which other method we have? Interior fit. Maybe that's what the other one was doing. So best fit is here. You can rotate. You can space evening or not. You can flatten some sides. You can look at the axis, specific axis. That is so cool. Nice. So not only the feature is now built in Blender, written in C++, but it also works better. Can I do more than one factor? Okay, no. That is so cool. So that's so nice. Let's see. I'm glad that what used to be in loop tools now is actually fixed in what used to be broken in loop tools now is fixed in the native tool. So yeah, I think that's it for loop tools. I think we should add it to the context menu. What do you think? Because at least not all of them, because all of them would be too much. It wouldn't fit on my screen, and this is a Quad HD resolution. So maybe it should be, two circles should be everywhere. Maybe not only on vertex select, but also we do have some repetition. We have subdividing all three. We have, what else? UV is only on face, but it could be everywhere too. But people just press U, right? And extrude actually could, it depends on the mode you're in for the shortcut, but who uses extrude from the right click menu? I think it's more handy to show this menu instead, no? The extrude menu. Because here you actually get exposed to more things. Individual faces along normals, which we are not in the context menu, and extrude repeat, spin even. That's some kind of extrusion, I believe. And then manifold even. So should extrude be a menu just like a UV and wrap? So it works more as a way to expose users to the feature. Anyway, let's I'm way off topic here, but that is because there's not that many new things today, so I'm trying to make it more dynamic, hanging out. And for Node Wrangler, the feature to align nodes, the operator that is used to align all your nodes, used to work in a way that if you had no nodes selected, it would work on all of the nodes. Very unintuitive. If I want all the nodes, let me just press A to select all nodes, and that's it. In this case, this behavior was confusing, so it got reverted. So now when nothing is selected, it will just tell you, hey, you have nothing selected. That's cool. So thank you, Quackaroni, for this quality of life improvement. And for, not for nodes, Node Wrangler, but for nodes, there is 3, 4, 5 changes. Let's see. The first one is called support 2D and 4D vectors in the vector input node. These, vectors generally can have between 2 and 4 dimensions now, but the vector input node is still fixed to 3 dimensions. So sometimes you don't have enough, sometimes you have too much. This adds a dimension setting to the node. Nice. The dimensions button is only shown in the sidebar, so the look of the node remains the same in the node editor. I don't think I agree with this change. I mean, yeah, there should be a setting for sure, but not. I don't think we do this anywhere else in any other node, do we? Correct me if I'm wrong. But I don't like this because all the settings should be exposed in the node when show options is on. This makes me uneasy. It makes me not trust. I can't trust Blender now because I think this is the only node that I can think of that has settings only in here. So now whenever I add a new node, I have to, I don't know, I will be like, okay, font is here. Okay, I will be checking the sidebar at all times to see if I am missing some settings or not. I don't think we have any other node that behaves that way. Okay, so the dimension settings allows you to choose the dimensions. Great. But I think this should be an option that is in the node itself. Maybe the node can have show options off, so it's in the node, but it's hidden by default. So for people who use the shortcut or a way to show the node options, then they can bring it back. Because I like it in Blender that anytime you want to know everything that's available to you in that node, you can just use node options. What do you think? And also we need a way, I have a PR for that, a really old PR, to be able to tell if the node itself, maybe with a mark or something, if the options are shown or not. That way you can actually believe, trust your life to this node that this is all I need. It's not very discoverable because we never do this. Why is mine? I thought the node was see-through, but the annotations are on top of nodes. Am I crazy for wanting one-to-one? Let's see. Drop down in node, yes. Well, not the drop down, but yeah, this setting in the node. Okay, I'm not crazy. Let's try to change that. Next, add cut to context and menu and remove the shortcut. Yeah, this is one feature that actually made it to 5.1, even though we are way past beta. But the feedback from the community was that the shortcut to cut, Control X, was getting on the way. Sometimes people want to remove some nodes, but not override what is already on your clipboard. So now the shortcut has been brought back to the regular. So basically, the shortcut will just remove the node, but not like we'll dissolve the node, but not with Control Delete, but not cut it. Although if we already have a shortcut for Control Delete to dissolve, then maybe we could. Anyway, to avoid any discussions, this has been brought back to the same behavior. The feature is still there. It's in the menu. So right click, cut, allows you to cut nodes. New nodes in the shader editor. Boolean, integer, and vector input nodes are now available in the shader node editor. Super nice. Thank you, Quackaruni. You're killing it lately. So nice. Next, add missing input nodes for constant values. This one is by Lucas. Makes it so the font ID data block and the menu in values now have dedicated constant nodes. So Shift A, where are the nodes? Yeah, there is a new here. Input font. So you can do Shift A font. Oh, I actually just showed it before without noticing. Next, oh, this is so nice. Quality of life improvement. Have you ever noticed that when ungrouping, like you have a group of nodes and you ungroup them, the default value that you set to those will be lost? Not anymore. So Lucas made it that ungrouping a node, group will now keep those, will remember basically those values that you had. So nice. So this is the case. For example, you set to your node group to 9,000, and when ungrouped, it will actually expose and save the actual property there. Super nice. Thank you. Let's see. And for object mode. Oh, this is so nice. Have you, by the way, did you know of a feature that lights have, which is look at or a target to? So you press Shift T and allows you to, look at a surface. So if you have a plane here and you want to light, I don't know, say you have a monkey over here and you want to light that monkey here, you can take this and instead of just doing double R and then R again, or even worse, using this terrible UI for, I don't know how people use these gizmos. Anyway, now you can have a smarter way, which is the Shift T. This is actually was already in Blender for a while. Shift T to look at the surface. It will look at where your cursor is, try to find, shoot a ray there, find the surface, and place it right here on top of your character. Anyway, this feature is now also available for cameras. So you set your camera, select the camera, and now you can say, okay, now look at the monkey. I can do Shift T and point into the monkey, and it will look at the monkey. That's so nice. So this is now also exposed. I can see here that someone is taking note. Shift with F. And you don't have to take notes because right click, it's also where you can find this feature. It's called look at surface. Now this feature is available for both, and there are some options. If you hold Control, you'll actually move it. So say I want to point here, but I want to move it to the left, so I can hold Control and then point it here. Actually, this is not showing in the status bar here. It should. Anyway, this is great. Awesome. Control to move, point to point. Also works with the camera, I believe. Shift T, Control to move the camera, and then point it. Nice. Cool. Next, there's Python refactors. Oh, R for remesh. We don't get often remesh features, but this is a bug fix / feature that you will probably be familiar with if you use remesh and vertex paint. Well, now vertex and corner attributes will be preserved. What does it mean? Well, look at this video. Have you ever run into this? You have this kind of fuzzy vertex paint that you did at a low resolution, right? You get this nice smooth surface in the colors, beautiful vertex group, vertex painting, and then you have remesh, and suddenly, because you have more geometry, the drawing changes. It's no longer what you had. If you had a nice transition between two vertices, that gets lost. Well, this is the past, and this is the future, thanks to Sean Kim. So, can you tell the difference? No, that's the point. It keeps the same or as close as possible. Well, you can tell here that there's more vertices remesh, but the drawing is the same, the grading is the same. So nice. Thank you. This is in main. It's not a. It could have been a fix for 5.1 because the bug is from 2024. Actually, was this okay? Let's see. The commit is here, and it's only on main. Technically, this could have been a bug fix, but maybe it's too risky for a bug fix for 5.1. Let's see. What else? R for render? I think this is a UI change, but it's render. It's in the category render. So let's see. Shader editor, add menu cleanup, filter unsupported nodes and node categories from the UI based on the tree type. So this is a user interface change with a zero zero images. So what is different? Let's look at the file actually. So there is the thing that shows the nodes or not, or defines nodes with outputs, will actually check if the type is light. It will show you for lights. If the type is material, well, if it's not light, it will show you for material nodes. So you're basically gonna see less, or you're gonna see relevant nodes now only, not non-relevant nodes. Nice, cool. So this is so cool. Nice. By the way, I see this happening a lot, that some users get really excited and add all the emojis that there are except the bad ones. I can appreciate the enthusiasm and the excitement, but sometimes it adds more noise than actually helping. Yeah, just that. Maybe let's try to limit to one emoji and let's pick it carefully. That's it. Okay, let's see. Let's look at what else is new. Render test, sculpt. There is news in sculpting. Yes, sculpt. There is 2 new changes. One, wow, this was promised a long time ago. Primitive tools in sculpt mode. You can now, this was my second contestant for the title of this episode, because now you can add primitives in sculpt mode. This change, this commit by Kunal Kashyap, makes it so you can select from the sidebar. Well, let's maybe this is based on a cube. We actually have a dedicated workspace for that. So let's look. Well, actually, you can see it right away. I'm in the sculpting workspace, and I can see there is a new tool. Add icosphere, add cube, add cylinder, cone, and UV sphere. And I just noticed that we are using the same icon for icosphere and UV sphere. That is illegal. Let's see. You tap, click. Now you have a bunch of primitives. Nice. So this by default will or use the orientation of the surface and will also snap to the surface. And the depth also surface. Interesting. You can set the subdivision levels. Oh, ahead of time. Nice. So you click once, you click, and then it's the same tool that you usually have in edit mode or object mode. Sorry, right? I think it's in object. Yeah, the same thing that it happens in object mode, but instead of adding a new object, this will add it to the actual sculpt. So let's say I add another circle here and another circle here and huge circle here. And if now press, what is the shortcut for remesh? Control R? Yes, Control R. It remeshes all my tools. And then I can do weird shapes. Nice. Math skills over here. That's cool. This is nice, so nice for prototyping, for quickly making shapes, starting the base shape of your sculpt. You can just not go to object mode anymore. Yay. So thank you, Kunal Kashyap. Next, Sean Kim added a new feature called restrict. Oh no, no new feature. It's actually less features, but is less features that were not relevant and they didn't make any sense, so they didn't work. And I love this kind of changes because it makes the UI more clean. This commit removes the following properties from pose, boundary, and elastic deform brush types. The options are jitter, smooth stroke, random texture angle, space attenuation. All these 4 features, they didn't really work in these brushes, so now they don't show up. Nice. Let's continue. It's time for UI, UNI, user interface changes. Oh, eye candy. If you like animations in Blender, as in the UI, there is a new UI animation that will basically point you to, or point the eye to the direction of where things are coming out. You may be familiar with this, this sliding animation that you get when you, let's start from scratch. So when you call in the sidebar or the toolbar, you get this nice animation, similar to when you open and close a panel, it animates, right? It adds these nice little micro interactions that shows you and calls the eye where it's needed. Well, sometimes actually, I wish that this gizmo would actually come in and out slowly, move in slowly, one thing at a time. This interaction now, it's also showing up in other places. For example, in the asset shelf. So if you have an asset shelf and turn it on and off, you will see that now slides in and out. This is so cool. Actually, this will probably work better with the, what is it? The key map tab for pie, no, pie menu on drag, I think. And yeah. No, what is the name? Region toggle pie, this one. So this, that it turns the N key into a shortcut. It's so cool. So now, I don't know if you get to see it in the on YouTube with the FPS, but it's so nice. So cool. Anyway, cool. Let's see. What else is new? So thank you, Harley, for that one. Super nice. Eye candy. By the way, if you don't like animations in Blender, if you hate these milliseconds that takes out of your life, you can get those milliseconds back. Or if you have issues with moving UI that doesn't need to move, there is an accessibility option called reduce motion. It's under interface in the preferences, reduce motion. With that on, the all the regions will show up immediately. Also, the pie minions show up immediately. They don't spawn from the center and animate. They just always show up. And everything else in Blender will try to use that instant interaction. Even for panels that open and close, they no longer animate. So if you're into that, that's or if you need it, it's there. It's the only accessibility feature we have so far. Although you could call some of the theme accessibility of some of the theme settings that we have, they are very much accessibility. For example, one I really like to point out to people that are visually impaired is that you can actually change the color of the active editor to be more prominent. So that way you can see at a glance where Blender is. I don't know if you get to see it, but it's more obvious when you have a thick lines. There you go. So this, I think it would help many people, especially because Blender depends so much in the active editor for shortcuts that this makes so much sense. Let's see. Oh, this is another feature that got in 5.1 based on user feedback. So in 5.1, when you are in the image editor and you press Control middle click, you can now zoom. This has always been the case. However, you can now press Control and snap to 10% increments, which is so cool. Nice. I see some thumbs up there. Okay, this is approved. Okay. Anyway, this feature was actually always trying to zoom in and snap at the same time. So they will get on the way, especially if you're using a pen, tablet, it would actually get on the way because that's the only way you have to zoom in. So it will feel like the UI would stutter. So now with this feature, this changed also in 5.1. The first time you do Control middle click to zoom in, it will always zoom in without there you go. It will always zoom in without snapping, and then hold Control to snap. Did you know that you can also hold Shift to snap to basically do precision zooming in if you want to zoom in only a little bit, and even the UI would show you the increments with the decimals. So nice. All right. Next, we do have one more in the user interface, which is a fix of something I mentioned in the live stream, and it's nice to see Jonas. I don't know if you watched this live and fixed it on the spot, or you just noticed, because I mentioned last week that the wireframe color panel in the viewport popover for shading was wrong, because you could actually have object color and background color too. That has been fixed. Now it says color. Yay. Thank you, Jonas. And the last section I will cover today is the video sequence editor. The video sequence editor has 3 changes. One is related to the... Okay. One, it's so nice. Let's start with the less... Well, this is also nice. It's just not as impressive as the other one, sorry. This is a Python API change. So it's related if you're doing add-ons or scripts and you need to know which strips are connected to this strip. You know, you can have to, when you use Blender video sequence editor, and then you drag and drop a movie, for example. Do I have any movies here? No. Anyway, when you have 2 strips and you connect them, actually you can connect anything. Nice. Doesn't need to be, I was going to use as a demo, I was going to use a video, because by default the movie strip and the sound strip are connected. But turns out you can actually connect anything. Can I connect 3 things? Of course I can. That's so cool. All right, so I have three images connected for some reason. Now Blender API will allow you to see what is connected to it. So you just do strip.connections and it will be a list of those strips. So you can access those. That's so nice. I didn't know you could connect as many things. How much more can I connect? Can I connect all these guys? Let's connect. There you go. One world. I connect. That's amazing. Because why not? Wow, this must get nuts with shuffle mode. If I overlap them too much. Yeah. Anyway, that's cool. So thank you, John. All right, these other two ones are this. I so wish we had this for 5.1 or even 5.0 because Blender 5.0 video sequence editor introduced a new modifier called Compositor, right? That you can add compositing nodes to strips, allowing you to do crazy compositings, right? It brings the fusion of After Effects applied to anyways, that is only CPU. In 5.0 it's only CPU. In 5.1 it's also only CPU based, so it's very slow from what you're used to, right? The compositor in the viewport and the regular compositor is usually GPU accelerated, can be GPU accelerated, but not in the sequencer until now. Because in Blender 5.2, the compositor supports GPU. So it's, I mean, how many orders of magnitude faster? It's just many. So Aras single-handedly, with the help of the module to test and give feedback, and Brecht and Omar and Habib and everyone, and John and Bastian apparently, or maybe he got code owner's review, added support for the GPU. So yeah, this is so cool. And how much faster? Well, I see anywhere from slightly slower to 5 times faster. So the spectrum is pretty wide, up to 5 times faster, but I guess it can be more. It depends on each effect that you're using. So that is pretty cool. How do you enable it? Because it's not enabled by default. That's something that you need to keep in mind. So let's say you have a compositor here. Where is it? Compositor here. And I have this strip. And then I want to apply an effect that is a compositor modifier. Actually, there is now also a compositor strip. So we could use that. But anyway. Oh, yeah, there is a compositor. It's going to apply to everything, no? Oh, when you have multiple, you cannot add a compos. If I have nothing selected, I can add a compositor. If I have multiple strips, it doesn't. I thought this will work like an adjustment layer, right? And now I don't see anything. Oh, I need to select a strip. Okay, maybe this is not the best example in the world. Let's delete everything but this. Let's disconnect strips. Let's delete everything, just one guy, and let's do compositor. There's nothing here. Why? Because the compositor should at least have yeah, that's kind of strange. I think when you add the compositor, it should just pass through if there's nothing in it, right? Otherwise, it's just dark black. Anyway, let's say you want to add a vignette effect, right? You add it here. Awesome, fantastic. Well, this it's not gonna be GPU accelerated unless you enable it. The device in the compositor is set to CPU. You can also access this option from the performance panel, compositor, and change it to GPU. Now, Blender is using your GPU for all kinds of things. Is there something that is a bit oh, that would be so nice actually, now that I think of it. You see what I did? I didn't mean to do it, but I dragged from the asset shelf into the sequencer. And I expected, what did I expect now that I think of it? I expected a new compositor strip. Yes. And if I drag it on top of another node, of another strip, sorry, I expect a compositor strip. I think. Can I drag it here? No, I cannot. Come on, Blender. Okay, let's see. Here, sensor noise. So now I have these two. And now, this is interesting. I'm mixing, what if I do sepia? I'm mixing both the modifier, interesting, and the compositor itself. It's amazing that this works, really. Well, it's not amazing. We have amazing developers. But it's crazy. In which workflows would you use this? Both a modifier and a compositor. Anyway, the good news is that now whatever workflow you use, it's faster. Then on top of that, there is also another performance improvement. Compositor modifiers and effects can use half precision on GPU now. This makes it that something that at full precision will be 10 frames per second, at half precision is now more than twice as fast, 22 frames per second. And CPU is 4 frames per second. This is tested on a 1080p HDR video with a modifier that does 20 size bokeh blur, which is known to be slow, on a Mac M4 Max. Nice. And that is it, I think. Yeah, that covers about everything that is new on this week for the Blender 5.1, 5.2 release cycle. Are there any questions? How's everyone in the chat, by the way? It's all good? It's all nice? We had some spam before. Nice. Let's see. So there is a new thread. Thank you, OMGDNEC, for making the thread. I'm gonna edit your post. I've used my privilege, and I'm gonna, where is this one? The summary. I'm gonna add the summary so everybody can click on the links that I click before. And let's see. So save, and now you have all the links that you have here. Okay, let's see the questions. Zoom in, full width, full size, and start with Sadek says, "Hi Pablo, thanks for the." Well, let me have a drink before, because otherwise. Thanks for the stream. I hope you're having a great day so far. I am. The sun was shining. That's why I have all the curtains down, and you can actually see me, kind of. I have this t-shirt from Calendar Conference 2016. It's 10 years old. Is modeling gonna get some love soon? Well, you probably have seen that there is some love. I will scratch someone's penguin for ability to split mesh while preserving the normals. Hey, wasn't this worked on recently with... It's super useful for game developers and customizable character creation, and right now I have to do the whole data transfer setup every time, which is really annoying. I think something like this was being worked on recently for... what was it? Maybe for geometry now, but not... But modeling is getting some love, because as you can see, loop tools have been starting to get migrated and fixed in the meantime to be part of Blender built-in tools. But I see what you mean. I know your pain. Maybe drop by the modeling chat channel and ask if this is planned at some point. It's just a friendly question. Otherwise, maybe they can point you to maybe there's an add-on that does it already for the time being, and maybe that can be integrated with Blender later. Next. Hi Pablo, I think this set curve order node should be named set curve degree for NURBS. That's maybe a long name, but I think it's the right naming. Well, the thing is, I think order, I don't know much about NURBS, sorry, but I think NURBS in this context, they use the word order. So maybe it's something that they're familiar with. It's just, to me, that it's wrong that it's not using the word NURBS if it only supports NURBS. and will only support NURBS. If it will eventually one day, maybe then yes. Other car types, yeah. Let's see, what else? Hey Pablo, hope you're doing well and have a nice week. Thank you. You too. I have a small question regarding texture painting. I know it's improving. I know improving it is a big undertaking with a lot of demand and areas that need to be worked on. The one I'm personally most interested in is the brush fall-off parity with the other modes. Right now, the texture paint is the only mode that has no sphere fall-off and is locked to projected fall-off. This makes it incredibly easy to accidentally paint areas that are further away. I see what you mean. Instead of the surface you're currently trying to paint on. Skull, vertex paint, and weight paint all have the sphere fall-off that helps avoid mistakes because you can actually paint in 3D space. Is there any PR or design proposal that tries to handle this issue? I think it is, no? Isn't there even experimental? Isn't the sculpt texture paint solve this issue? The 3D brush thing. 3D texturing brush improvements. Oof, sorry for the white. 3D texture mode, pixel extraction, no. Canvas selector, modes. 3D. I think the word 3D is gonna show up a few times here. 3D lattice, 3D texturing. Here, it's not mentioned here. But as you can see, there is task to follow this. Maybe again, drop by the module. Maybe they have a task for this. I think people are not gonna be bothered by asking if this is gonna be worked on or if it's under the radar or not, because that shows that people actually need it and use it. So it should be fine. Also, it is clear if geometry nodes list will land in 5.2. I am incredibly excited for those and their potential. Thanks a lot for the stream again. Lists. Let's I'm actually don't well, these lists are experimentals, right? Geometry nodes list. So in the preferences you can see the PR that is linked to it. So you click on it and it sends you to the website, and there is no milestone for 5.2. So maybe not. Actually, this is another thing that you can drop by. Okay, maybe I shouldn't send so many people to the chat because that's where development happens and there can be noise. But I think a question like this is geometry node list coming to, or maybe you can just actually comment in this PR. Leave a comment. Hey, was wondering if this is gonna be in 5.2 or not. That I think is a fair question to ask, right? You can plan ahead and try to make it to work around this, because you can use this in production knowing that it will come out in 5.2. Next question. Thanks again. Really looking forward to the release of Blender 5.1. Let's see. Slow Kid says, hello Pablo, this is a question more for the vague future other than immediate releases. Some years ago, Blender UI started to follow the paradigm of not having any more multiple elements, icons, text, menus on the same line. 2.7 era, let's call it, in favor for more nested panels and more submenus inside menus. While this maybe help readability and clutter, menus inside submenus inside other submenus are becoming more and more common. They shouldn't though. Menus should be at most 1 level deep, 2 max, but not 3 level. And there must be a good reason for it. Like sometimes you just can't avoid it, right? You can add a you can add a modifier from the object, add modifier, no, or modifiers, add modifier, then you get many menus, right? Okay, this is a bit much, but sometimes you just can't. This is automated. I miss a bit the days where more functions, buttons, and operators were easily reachable, and as Blender is progressing and new features were being added, I fear will have more operations buried inside multiple steps. Do you think that at some point Blender will rethink its UI philosophy again? Are there chances to regain some of the immediacy of the past? Yes and no. Yes, some things are more immediate. For example, one very recent example is that the node options now, for example, show this, show the color and the widget and even presets in the same line. So you do get some of the 2.7 vibes here, right? This option of connecting the checkbox with the item is an attempt to go back to that. We have this in other places too. Like in the UI, you would see these attempts to unify layouts by having one widget and one option here. The issue with the old Blender 2.7, if you do Blender 2.79, if I open Blender from the past decade, wow, yeah, this is Blender from the past decade actually. So you can see how long it takes to open. It's the first time I open it here. So you refer to this UI, no? View this way, this Blender UI. The thing with this, I don't know if you already noticed some of the issues, but this UI, even though you get a lot of things in one at once, this is very noisy and hard to maintain. Developers would, whenever they add a new feature, there will be no guidelines, and because things are not aligned, you sometimes get a label inside at the same level as a property. Sometimes you get two properties connected, sometimes three, sometimes on the right, the left. It's just not great if you want to scale this UI, right? You couldn't have it small, compacted, and also add-ons could do, yeah, it would take more work basically for add-ons to follow. I mean, with the Monday newspaper, and is that a saying? In Spanish it is. With the Monday newspapers, you get add-ons doing whatever they want. We still have add-ons doing whatever they want and not following the nice layout that now supposed to be all right aligned. It allows you for smaller UI, right? You have this nice list type. You don't have to think much, right? When you have a node UIs are like this, right? They are very easy to see, to follow, to read, right? You see it goes straight, option, option, option. Whereas here you have to go, okay, it's not here, it's here. The scanning is less of an issue. So I don't think we're gonna go back to this. It was a bit all over the place, and it's still all over the place in some cases. And trying to find some options here. You see, you have operators on one side, you have no. But thanks for the concern. I'm always looking into ways to get the Blender UI more clutter-free, noise-free, easy to read and understand. Maybe you should try to find ways to make it more responsive. So when you are expanded, you see more things. If you don't have room, you see less things, like on a phone. Okay, let's see. Mr. Kleiner says, good evening. May I ask your opinion for the following? I don't know. May you? Okay, what is this? Let's see. Today we don't have any features. 1. Yeah, I'm feeling good today. Why not install a bunch of add-ons, extensions? I always wanted an add-on like this. Drag and drop install. Great. 15 minutes later and 3 Blender restarts. Why would you restart Blender? Wait, where did the add-ons I should install go? I swear I saw them in your GUI. Whatever, I am stupid, forgot to install them. No, when you drag and drop install, they are installed and activated. Drag and drop ins, this add-on is already installed. Wait, you dare defy my order. Install sesame. Wait a second, let me check the settings. Yes, it installed the add-ons, enabled them, but didn't save the fact they are enabled. So they became disabled after a restart. That sounds like a bug report. I hope the tiny issues This is to me the fact you have to save the settings for add-ons to stay enabled. No, I think this should, maybe this is a bug report. Please report it as such. NumNumNot says, hello, another new place in a large team now. About a third of us are using Blender. Congrats. And yes, the company donates. Cheers. However, we're almost exclusively VFX artists and compositors. I've been taking notes, and one of the Blender users 100%, and all of the Blender users 100% normally do animation in Blender. That's new. But only 10% sometimes composite in Blender. 20-30% are willing to do tracking in Blender, and the major complaints are needs better roto, green screen, keying, etc. I should be able to pattern something in the Compositor to a tracker and a few others. Okay, I hear you. So that's it. Okay, so people, only 10% people composite in Blender. Okay, but what are the reasons? Why? Because they needs better roto, green screen, keying, HSN tools. That doesn't say much. Maybe you there can bring some of that information in. I should be able to pattern something in the Compositor to a tracker and a few others. I think the parenting of the, isn't that the corner pin? That the fact, because a tracker can be a 3D object, right? Like an empty track position. You can get the track position, no? Of a movie clip. What did you try to say? And okay, accidentally press enter and you capture my edit. Okay, but now that means that I have more comments. Probably I do have more comments. Okay, let's see. I should be able to pattern something in the Compositor. This is a fair breakdown of what needs more work for live action production, I think. Traditional VFX feels a bit neglected, and the tracker menu can use neglected with the amount of features that the Compositor has gotten in Blender recently, right? If you go to the Compositor, bam, features, then Compositor, bam, feature. Even 5.2 has compositing features. 5.0 Compositor, bam. 4.5 Compositor, huge. Neglected is a strong word. Traditional VFX, maybe, yeah, green screening, those things don't get as much love, but you can, there's only so much love. Maybe are there bugs that maybe could be reported so it can be mentioned like a more direct a workable thing, actionable thing. And the tracker menu can use a facelift. This maybe you can help with. In any case, I just had an idea using sculpt tools to sculpt normals for NPR. Okay, that sounds fun. But anyway, maybe define those as right-click select posts, specific features that are needed to improve this. I know deep compositing is a big one, yes, but what else? Next, Laura Hinkrange says, hi Pablo, any chance you or the other devs are heading to the Blender conference Austin? Actually, I'm not. Beacon North America.org, Beacon NA, has announced the round of speakers. Francesco City is going. Andrew Price, Jason Kaiser, Louis Kowalski, Maris Volk, Spencer Manson, and Jonathan Williamson, of course, is they're going to be present at the Beacon NA. So if you are in North America or willing to travel to Austin, Texas in, well, a bit more than a month, 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 13 and 14 of April 2026. I think there's still tickets. Yes, there is 165 people confirmed, and there's still tickets left. No, sorry, I'm not going. I will be at the Blender conference Amsterdam though on September 23, 25, 2026. We already have the dates. Exciting. The same place. boring website, yes, but it's better to put the news out. And I will be, I don't know what else. I haven't planned yet. I don't know if SIGGRAPH maybe. Where is SIGGRAPH this year? SIGGRAPH 2026 homepage. LA. Not sure. Let's see. I don't know if the US is a great place for Latinos to travel nowadays. Some places in particular. Hey, hi Pablo. I'm the one who implements the look at surface for camera. Hey, happy to see that look cool for a lot of people. Yes, it did. Just to clarify a bit, the key maps in the status bar for both light and camera for the target operator is planned and ready, but hasn't been approved at the time for the live. Oh, nice. There's also a lot coming for the operator, like adding some new feature. I hope this will be ready and released for the 5.2. I'm doing my best. Thanks for this good live. And yes, actually, thank you for mentioning that, and thank you for working on it. This little feature of adding look at target for the camera, it actually comes from another PR that adds many more features to light positioning. The thing is that PR was great, but it had more potential to become more things built in Blender, right? Like, okay, look at, why cannot we maybe do this look at as an object, for meshes? Cool. And then, okay, maybe we can implement this other shortcut and this. And thank you for your patience. And not to you, community, but to the author of this patch, to Echoes, because it takes a lot of patience. You have a PR that is ready to go and is perfect in your eyes, but then the developers say, maybe we make it more generic and improve for Blender as a whole. And that, I know, takes patience. I know. So thanks for your patience, and thanks for contributing to Blender, making Blender better for everyone in the world. And with that, I will call it a day, because I think we had plenty of new features and plenty of spam also for a day. Let's meet again. When is that? When is the next time? Oh, 17th of March, exactly on a Tuesday. That means I'm not gonna be here. I'm not gonna be live. I'm gonna be sitting here because this is my office working. I will probably be sitting like this and with this, because Blender 5.1 is coming out and there will be lots of work to do. But maybe I can do the live stream that day, maybe on Wednesday or Friday. Which day works best for you? Friday could be fun. I did it last time, but Wednesday could also be fun. Let me know. I will see you again on the next episode of BlenderToday. I hope you had a good time. Happy blending. And by the way, some features, as I mentioned, they only show up in the build from tonight, so maybe wait a bit, and otherwise get the latest Blender. If you find any bugs, please report them. We only have 2 weeks until the release of 5.1. Otherwise, there will be a 5.1.1, and that is so annoying. So let's make a stable Blender for everyone. That being said, see you again, same time, maybe another day, for another episode of BlenderToday live. Watch your ear holes. Thanks everyone. See you next time. Thank you. Bye.